Level 1, the boyfriend. You meet her at a laundromat 2 blocks from your apartment. Her dryer jams and you fix it with a coin you didn't need back. She laughs and says you're the first useful man she's met all year. You are 25 years old. You install security systems for a living. You make $41,000 a year. Your jeans have a hole you keep meaning to patch. Hers look identical. But you'll learn later they cost $900 and were designed to look worn. You ask for her number. She writes it on your hand because her phone is buried somewhere in her bag. You text her that night. She replies in 4 minutes. You take her to a diner on the first date because it's what you know. She orders pancakes and eats every bite. You relax a little. Weeks pass. She tells you she works in family administration, whatever that means. You don't push. You like the mystery more than you like most certainties. One slow night, you type her full name into a search bar. Half bored, half curious. The page loads like it knows what it's about to do to you. Her surname sits beside a number with 13 digits. Not million, not billion. The word underneath says trillion. You read it 4 times. You set your phone face down on the counter like it might bite again. You think about ending it before you're in too deep. You are already in too deep. She calls an hour later, asks what you're doing this weekend, and you say nothing and she says, "Good, come meet my dog." The dog has its own security detail. You pretend not to notice. Level 2, the fiancé. 18 months pass in a blur of borrowed normalcy. You are 27. You propose with a ring you financed over 6 months. And your hands shake harder than they did the one time. You jumped out of a plane for a dare. She says yes before the box is fully open. For 9 straight days, you feel like the wealthiest man alive. Then a car arrives on a Sunday, black and silent, driven by a man who calls you sir in a way that makes your stomach hurt. The estate isn't a house, it's a coastline. The gate takes 2 full minutes to open onto a private airfield you didn't know families were allowed to own. Her father meets you in a room made entirely of glass and stone. He is 71 and looks like weather has never once touched him. He asks what your father does. You tell him, delivery driver, regional grocery chain, 30 years. Something moves behind the old man's eyes. You can't tell if it's contempt or curiosity. The lawyers arrive before dessert, 11 of them. The prenuptial agreement runs 340 pages. You read every page across 4 sleepless nights. Stripped of the polite language, it says you leave with nothing but the clothes on your back. You sign it in front of everyone without blinking. You need them to believe you're not here for the money. You need to believe it yourself more. Her brother, 30 and sharp as a paper cut, watches you the entire dinner and says almost nothing. He doesn't need to. Level 3, the newlywed. The wedding has 1,900 guests. You recognize maybe 30 of them. 3 former heads of state attend in person. A pop star you idolized as a teenager performs 4 songs without making eye contact with anyone in the room. The flowers alone cost more than your childhood house 11 times over. Your mother wears a dress from a department store and stands taller than every woman in couture around her. You have never loved her more. You marry the woman, not the fortune, and you mean every word of the vow. She means hers too. That part is real. And it's the only part you can hold on to in the months that follow. You move into a cottage on the family compound that has 14 rooms and a staff of 9. You make your own coffee the first morning. The head housekeeper looks personally wounded. You never make your own coffee again. At dinners, her father quizzes you gently on markets you've never studied. You learn to say, "I'd want to look at the numbers before I say anything." And it becomes your armor. Her brother corners you at a reception, drink in hand he doesn't need, and tells you men like you have a shelf life in families like this. You thank him for his honesty, and mean it, and you file the sentence away where you keep things that matter. You start spending mornings in a library older than your home country. The old man finds you there once, reading a shipping ledger that predates your birth. He says nothing. But the next morning he asks you a real question, and you answer honestly, and he listens for 11 minutes without interrupting. It's the longest conversation you've ever had with him. You are 28 and starting to understand that trust here isn't given, it's mined, one honest answer at a time. Level 4, the son-in-law. A year in, you are 29, and your wife is pregnant. The old man's voice softens by a degree you can actually measure. You quit your security job because wiring alarm panels feels absurd, next to a wife who oversees a foundation with a 9-figure annual budget. Now you have no job and no purpose, and that particular kind of empty is louder than any alarm you ever installed. You start attending things just to exist inside them. Charity dinners, board previews. You memorize 200 names in 4 months. You notice the Patriarch trusts almost nobody in that glass and stone room, and everybody in it wants something from him. You decide to want nothing out loud. Your son is born in a wing of a hospital that doesn't appear on the hospital's public floor plan. You hold him, and something in your chest reorganizes itself permanently. The old man visits at dawn, looks at his new grandson a long time, then looks at you differently than he ever has. He rests one hand on your shoulder. Come see me Thursday, just us. You don't sleep that night. You've spent your whole adult life outside locked doors. One of them just cracked open. Level 5, the Apprentice. The meeting runs 4 hours. He doesn't hand you money. He hands you a mess. A satellite communications division bleeding 9 figures. A year that nobody else in the family wants to touch. You are 31 and have never managed more than 6 installation techs at once. You throw yourself at spreadsheets like a drowning man grabs rope. You find a regional director who's been skimming quietly for 6 years. You find a vendor contract bleeding $40,000 a day for services nobody uses. You fix what you can and fire who you must. Your hands shake under the conference table. The first time you say the words, your position is eliminated. 14 months later, the division turns a profit for the first time in a decade. You walk into family dinner and the old man nods at you, and it isn't polite this time. It's real. Her brother stops smiling at you that night for good. He starts working against you the way this family fights. Never loud. Always a delayed approval here, a planted rumor there. Your wife warns you in bed one night that her brother destroyed her. Last serious relationship before you? Slowly over 18 months. Until the man simply disappeared. You realize the prenup was never the real test. The real test doesn't have an ending date. Level 6, the board member. You earn a board seat at 35. Earned, not given. And sit at a table with men who've known this family since before satellites existed. They see the technician who married up. You let them believe it as long as it's useful. Your daughter is born that year. You now have 2 children and something larger than yourself to build toward. And that clarity makes you dangerous in a room full of bored, comfortable men. You walk into every meeting having read what everyone else skimmed. You ask the one question nobody else wants asked out loud. The old man starts calling before board meetings to ask what you actually think, not what you think he wants to hear. That's the shift that matters. Her brother overplays his hand on a shipping rights deal that quietly damages the family's position. You take it apart with numbers in front of the whole table calmly. He never forgives the room for watching it happen. That night, the old man calls your private line. You saw what the others missed. Dinner soon, just us. A line has moved permanently. You are not family by marriage anymore. You are useful family, and useful family is rarer than blood. Your blood pressure climbs. You sleep 4 hours a night. Your wife begs you to slow down. You promise her soon. Soon becomes the family's oldest lie, and now it's yours too. Level 7, the fixer. Some problems never reach the board. Some can never exist on paper at all. You become the man who absorbs those. You are 39 and have the old man's private number saved under a name that isn't his. A relative is detained overseas and the story must never surface. You make calls to lawyers in 5 countries who know you by your first name now. A former partner threatens to go public over a failed venture. You fly out alone. Don't threaten him. Just listen for the real wound under the noise and give him a version of what he actually wants. He goes quiet and stays quiet. You learn most problems were never about money at all. Pride, fear, The need to be heard by someone who won't flinch. It's the same skill that once fixed a stranger's dryer for a coin. Only the stakes now measure in reputations and billions. You carry secrets you can't share with your wife. And you start to understand the particular loneliness. The old man has worn like a second coat for 50 years. Her brother makes one last move to push you out, goes to his father, calls you a technician who married his way into a birthright. The old man listens in total silence, then tells his own son to leave the room. He chooses you. Nothing here is ever announced, but everyone at the table understands exactly what just happened. Level 8, the right hand. The old man is 84 now, slower in body, still a blade in mind. You are 44, running what he can no longer manage day to day. You are not the blood heir and never will be. Her brother still holds that claim on paper, but you hold the relationships, the operations, the trust, and everyone in that glass room knows which one is the real inheritance. You sit across from finance ministers of entire nations. You negotiate agreements larger than some countries' annual output. Your own father passed 2 winters ago. He never fully understood the world you married into, but he was proud of the man standing in it. Not one board member attended his funeral. That absence told you everything about where real loyalty lives. You keep your 2 children deliberately ordinary. Summer jobs, public transit, a budget they track themselves. You've watched what this money does to people raised inside it with no floor under them. And her brother is the proof. Drinking too much. Ventures failing one by one. Propped up quietly to keep the family name clean. You could end him with one phone call. You don't, because your wife still loves her brother despite everything. And mercy, you're learning, is the one luxury real power can actually afford. The old man starts fading in pieces. Some days he knows you instantly. Some days he calls you by his son's name and you answer to both without correction. You read to him in the evenings. History, always history. He closes his eyes and squeezes your hand at the parts he loves. You didn't expect to love him back. You do. Level 9, the Steward. His body collapses in the dead of winter. You are 50 and spend more nights at his bedside than in your own home. He calls you in alone one evening, machines beeping quietly behind him, and tells you a truth he's never spoken aloud. His son was never built to hold this, and he's known it for 30 years. And it has broken something in him he's never shown anyone. Blood built this empire, he says, but blood alone won't keep it standing. He asks you to protect the family, not the fortune, the family. The grandchildren. The name over a gate you once thought you'd never be allowed past. You hold the hand of the man who once studied your face like a threat assessment, and you realize you love him the way you loved your own father. You tell him you'll protect all of them, including his son. He closes his eyes. In the months before he dies, you sit in windowless rooms with lawyers and bankers, restructuring trusts so no single person can ever burn the whole thing down. You build quiet protections around grandchildren you've watched grow up under your own roof. Her brother senses the shift and rages in front of the whole family. Accuses you of stealing a birthright that was never really his to hold. You sit him down without anger and tell him the truth. You're not taking his inheritance. You're guarding it for his own children, and there will always be a seat for him at that table. For the first time in 15 years, he has nothing left to say back. Maybe he believes you. Maybe he's just tired. Either way, the war ends there. You never wanted a throne. You only wanted the woman whose dryer you fixed for a coin you didn't need back. Somehow the two became the same thing. Level 10, the Patriarch. He dies on a quiet autumn morning. The funeral fills a cathedral, built 2 years earlier for occasions, exactly like this one. 3 sitting heads of state attend. You give the eulogy the same way you once gave your own father's. You speak about a complicated, frightened, brilliant man who built something almost too large for one family to hold, and who did not, in the end, die alone. You stand at the head of the family now, the one every eye in the room turns toward first. It is the strangest feeling you have ever carried. You are 62. Your name sits on paper beside, a number too large for your mind to fully process, the same way hers once did on a laptop screen in a cold kitchen, decades ago. The boy who fixed dryers for spare coins now signs agreements that reroute the economies of small nations. You think you should feel triumphant. Mostly, you feel the weight of it settle into your shoulders like something permanent. You think about your father's delivery truck, about pancakes at a diner, eaten down to the last bite by a woman who never once looked at the price, about a 340-page prenup you signed without flinching, because you needed everyone, including yourself, to know you weren't there for the number. The money, it turns out, was never the point. That was the secret the whole time, and it's exactly why they eventually trusted you with all of it. Your son works inside the business now, sharp and unassuming. Your daughter runs the foundation, fierce about every dollar she moves. Her brother sits at the table sober, finally at peace, finally just family instead of a threat. The structure holds because you held it, quietly, for 30 years, with your own 2 hands, and still. You are alone in the particular way men at the very top are always alone. Your wife is the one person who still sees the man underneath all of it, and that you've learned is the one thing no fortune on earth can purchase. Somewhere tonight, a young man is fixing a stranger's dryer for a coin he didn't need back. He has no idea whose it is. He'll learn her name in a few weeks and type it into a search bar out of idle curiosity, and his kitchen will go quiet the same way yours did. He'll think he's out of his depth. He will be right. He'll sign things he barely understands and walk into rooms he was never built for. The money will test him. The family will test him harder. The loneliness will find him last of all, and it will stay the longest. He has no idea what he's about to marry into. He'll learn all of it. They always do. The cycle always continues.